Every artist has a moment of awe, where we see a work of art that makes us pause and wonder, how did they do it? If you have felt this way, you're not alone. In each episode, we break down the barriers between wonder and understanding, exploring the passion and process that create extraordinary works. Assalamu alaikum everyone. We are starting episode 3 of How Did They Do It? Today with us we have two artists, and as you all know, each week we bring two artists in our session so they can break down their artwork into simpler form for us to get inspired. Today we have Sakib Ahmed Rigdhi with us for our first speaker artist. And Sakib Ahmed Rigdhi, you can show your screen now, and I'll give a short intro of yours. Then you can come up and just introduce yourself broadly. What I want to say about Rigdhi is that he was the first person to get inspired by this show, which is a big deal for this show. I remember when we started the first episode, he was there for the whole entire show and he saw it. Then he was working on a generator that time, work in progress. Then he was so inspired by this show that he decided to complete that generator within the minimum time possible and came to our show to represent that very generator he created. So hats off to Rigdhi. And also I would also like give a heartiest congratulations to both of our artists, because they came with a brave offer. Like they wanted to speak in English, and as we all know, it's very difficult to explain artwork without our mother tongue. But they wanted to do this in English so we can connect to global artists as well. They don't want to deprive the global artists from their tips and tricks. So let's welcome Sakib Ahmed Rigdhi to our show. Rigdhi, you can start now.
Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. This is me Rigdhi, and thank you Samuel Bhai for the story about my journey to start this. Never mind. Wait. Okay, it should be better now. Okay. So, anyways, today I'm gonna talk about my generator. This piece was inspired by an artist who told me to do some hard surface modeling, because in my last work I did some backpack, and honestly that backpack was so long ago that I had forgotten how to model and stuff. So to regain my confidence, I decided to start this project back in October, I think 20th or something, and I promised myself that I would finish it by November or something like December. However, things have changed and I procrastinated, and it's now January 20th and it's not fully completed. But I'm trying. This is the backpack. Sorry, this is the generator that I'm gonna show you today. So the first thing I did to do this backpack was I gathered some references. Now, why did I chose this backpack? Sorry, I'm sorry to be honest. So why did I chose this generator? Basically, why I chose this generator was there are some very intricate details in this generator. Like as you can see, it has very intricate engines. Like it has engine heads, cylinders, and steps. And honestly, I have never done anything this intricate before. And it also included like painted metal, and I have not really done a painted metal before in this particular detail. So this is why I decided to do this. Now this generator is from Honda, and the model is generator ES3 300 and 3500, and this model has many variations, so I had some difficulties to choose which variation I wanted to choose from. So I decided to gather references, and this was the first reference that I gathered. Along with this, I gathered some different references, and once I started looking, I decided to look into eBay As you know, eBay has lots of parts and stuffs to get references from. And after eBay, I decided to just go into images by searching the generator and hitting this see more. Because once you press the see more, you get pretty related results. And as you can see, there are many differences, but I decided to do, you know what, I will just collect all the references and do the ones that are easy to do. So this is what I did. I collected all of them and decided to work. Firstly, I decided to do some blockouts. And for the blockouts, I just a second. It was mostly polymodel blockout. Oh, before I even started the blockout, I decided to figure out the dimension of it. As you know that we should model in a real life dimension, because if you don't model in a real life dimension, it's gonna mess up the scales and it will look either way too smaller or way too big. So to figure out the scales of this dimension, I decided to find out the proper dimension of it, and it was roughly around this. And in case you didn't know, you can actually put inches and millimeter in Blender, and Blender will figure out the exact meter. I mean, it will convert it into meter. So this is what I did. I put a cube, then I put the dimension here, then I decided to make this cube unselectable, because then I won't be accidentally hitting this generator. And after doing that, I decided to just do the basic poly model. And as any other props, I started by blocking. Okay, like any other model, I went very normally. There were like, I first did the block out. So for block out, I decided to do the general shapes. And as you can see here, the general shapes are this. What should I say? I really don't know the name, so I just called it a stand or something, you know. And so I first did this stand. To do this stand, I think I did a curve. I did a curve and then I converted into this, and then I decided to bisect and make it into a mirrored dimension. Like I mirrored it, yeah, I mirrored it. And then I continued to do the poly modeling, and I think it took me 3 or 4 days to get a basic understanding of how the poly model should look, like how the blockout should look. This was the blockout that I later refined. So how did I refine this? Oh, before I even go how I refined it, I have to tell how I model this thing. As you can see, this thing was very hard to pull out because you cannot just, you know, make a cylinder and just create some holes there, because you will get a very bad shading issues, and I was having serious shading issues. So to mitigate this, I decided to do something like this. I made a plane, then I decided to just, you know, cut this plane into this kind of things. Okay, hold on. I subdivided the planes, then I went and made the holes there. After that, I decided to create an array, because as you can see here, it is arrayed. So for array, I did an array here. Then I added an empty. And after that empty, I decided to do a bend modifier. And bend modifier should be around here. Then you hit the empty, and I don't know why I exactly have to do this, but in a video that I saw, I have to rotate the empty in a 90 degree direction in the x-axis, in the negative 90 degree direction in the x-axis. So once you do that, it should bend. and once it bended, it, I get this form, as you can see here. This is how I did this form. Once it was done bended, I decided to weld it, because without welding you will get this kind of shading issues here, as you can see. This just a minute. Okay, this shading issue happens because the vertices are overlapping, and to mitigate that we have to weld it, and as you can see it's gone. Once it was done, I just added some solidifier modifier, then added a subdivide, and as you can see it is done. This is how I did this part here was the most complex part for me, because I could not really figure out how to do this part. After that I applied the same technicalities in this case. Then this case was this thing. I didn't have a very clear picture, so I had to went around and scour the internet, and I figured out I can actually find the components very easily by going here, and as you can see here is the part. It was that easy. So you have to actually figure out how to do some search in Google, because once you figure out how to collect the references, it will be easy. And to do that you have to figure out the parts name, where to get them from, like the other details of that thing. So once you collected them, it will be very easier to find them. Like now I can easily went here and see that its name is muffler, and so I can go here and search eBay. Why eBay? There are many people who sell stuff on eBay, and this is why it's the best reference center for me. Once I was on eBay, I could easily collect this part, and this solved this problem of having a very low res peak to model. Once I got a clear picture, I modeled this using the same principle that I used here. Once that was done, I moved to this side. This was done with a very normal Boolean workflow, as you can see here. I first modeled this. This is a very standard cylinder which I beveled later on. After beveling, I put some Boolean modifier. This is the Booleans that I used. Once the Boolean was done, I added another Boolean modifier to create this section. Just a second. This section. And oh, by the way, before I had forgot to mention, this software is called Pure Rep software, and everyone, I think every artist who does 3D should get this software. This software is very important to collect reference. Okay, back to my topic. So after doing some booleans, I did bevel. Why bevel? Because bevel gives a very good shading around the hard surfaces, and I think in game asset, people should make the edges a bit rounder, so it's not exactly 90-degree sharp, because once it is a bit rounder, it will bake very nicely in the low poly version we will create later on. So anyways, as you can see, after I did the bevel, there was some shading issues here. Look, see, as you can see, these shading issues. So to fix these shading issues, I decided to add a weighted modifier, and it's gone. So exactly the same way I model this. I think I forgot what's the name, but yeah, this thing. It was probably called control panel for the generator. Once I did the general blockout shapes, as you can see here, I started to do poly modeling here. I started to do some booleans, and yeah, basically most of the more things I have done here was done in a Boolean poly model workflow. After that was done, after the Boolean stuffs were done, I decided to move on to things that record sub-D modeling. And where did I record the sub-D modeling? It was here. This thing was modeled in a sub-D way first. Then as you can see, this was modeled in a sub-D. Then I added a bevel modifier, and then I added a Boolean here. Otherwise, I would not be getting this smooth shape around here. I was having some difficulty to get the smooth shape around here, so I did that sub-D modeling first, and then added the Boolean modifier and bevel modifier later on. And these were the easiest part for me. Then came the even harder part. Which was even harder part? This area. As you can see, the engine details here are so hard that I could not really figure out how to model this. This area took me quite a while, to be honest. This took me around like, I think 7 days or even more. I procrastinated between this time, so I think it took me around at least more than 10 days. So how did I model this? I had to scout the internet again, and man, it was very hard. There were no good references for a model like this, at least this specific engines, because if the model is very old, so I could not really get a very clear result. So I had to get creative. And how did I get creative? I started to find different types of engines. As you can see here, I even checked how to make a motorcycle engine, because they are roughly similar shapes. So once I did that, I decided to, you know what, get creative, and this is how I model the engines. I just made sure that it looked roughly similar to this engine. I wanted to go even higher, but I later realized that most of the models that won't be seen up close. So I decided to not make it very detailed in the areas that the eyes don't see. So yeah, I think after that my model was more or less done. I decided to add some very basic stuff like adding these knobs. Oh, by the way, these knobs are very easy to make. In case you didn't know, you have to just make a cylinder. This knob was taking me some time to model, but I later realized that it's a lot easier than I thought. Just make sure to get a very high poly cylinder. My bad. Okay, make sure to get a very high poly cylinder. For this, I used a 128 cylinder, and I scaled it down. And you go here and just select these edges, and make sure to select checkered deselect. Why checkered deselect? You will get this kind of things. So once done that, you go here and just scale it. Never mind, something's wrong. Okay. The hell, it should work. Okay, it's working. My bad. Okay, so once it's scaled, I decided to just add a bevel modifier. And by the way, people who are curious, how did I get this kind of things? It's from an add-on called HardOps, and I would recommend those people who are passionate about doing hard surface modeling, they should invest in HardOps and box cutter. These models are very good, but I mostly use the HardOps for this quick modifier settings. Anyways, this is how I did the knobs. As you can see, it's very easy to do. I first had some issues, but later on I realized it's very easy to do. So anyways, this is how I did this models around here, and this is the model that used a different type of workflow. This is a workflow I found in an ArtStation learning process, and it requires you to use sculpting and modeling at the same time, and sculpting and remesh modifier modeling. And let me show you how to do this. Never mind. Okay, once that was done, I decided to go to sculpt. Let me just hide this first. Okay. Okay, once that was done, I just added some. Just never mind. I'm sorry, my PC is a bit slow, so it takes a while to do this kind of subdivision workflows sometimes. Okay, it did the job, and once it was done, I have a better idea. Let me show you in a isolated studies, because that project had lots of objects, so it took a while to do the calculations there. It should be a lot easier to do it here. Okay. So once that was done, I went and the hell is taking too much time. Okay, so as I was saying, you should do this in a sculpt Boolean workflow, and to do this, you go to sculpting. No, actually, you don't even need to go to sculpting. My bad. You just go here and then you add a remesh modifier. Make sure to apply the subdivision modifier. Otherwise, you won't get the polygons to sculpt on top of it. So after applying the subdivisions, you go to the remesh modifier, and even before you do the remesh modifier, make sure to add the booleans that you're gonna do. Then you just boolean it. But as you can see, there are many shading issues around here, but it is easy to fix. And this is where the remesh modifier will come to help. But remember, it's gonna be a bit taxing for your PC, because it takes a good while to do the calculation unless you have a very decent PC. Okay, as you can see that we got a very fairly decent object here, and we have to smooth it now, because this will look very bad unless we smooth it. And to fix that, we have to use this smooth corrective. And I think Jahid Bhai showed it in his last stream how to do this workflow. So it's more or less the same workflow, and to do this, you gotta go to smooth, and then just keep doing this and until you get a decent smoothing result. As you can see, you got a free boolean without even fixing the topology that subdivision creates. And you can keep doing this, but you have to make sure that the boolean goes way above in the modifier stack, and the corrective smooth goes way below. In hard surface modeling, one have to make sure that the modifier stack is the modifier stack is okay, because without the modifier stacks, it will look very bad. Because if I put the booleans above there, it will look very bad, as you can see. So you have to be careful about where do you put your modifiers. So yeah, this is how I did this. Okay, my bad. Just a second. Okay, I'm sorry that if it all feels a bit unprepared. Okay, so this is how I did this thing. I'm not really sure what it is called, but this is exactly how I did this area. So once that was done, I was pretty much okay to call the high poly done, and then it was time to move to the low poly. And this is why I decided to take a break. Remember, don't take breaks in project unless uh, you have no. Remember to take breaks in project unless you have deadline, because otherwise it will go very bad. So once I took the break, I came back and I started to do the low poly. And for the low poly, I started to just, let me show you the low poly and high poly side by side so it is easier to understand. So for the low poly, I just decided to apply everything around here, every modifier settings, and I decided to reduce the polys. But make sure when you are making a low poly version of your high poly, you have to make sure the silhouettes match. Otherwise, if the silhouettes don't match, it will look very bad once baked. So I reduced the edges, but I made sure that the low poly and high poly silhouette match each other, and it fits with each other like a skin tight jacket. So I just kept reducing the polygons around here, and this is how I got myself this low poly. Just a bit. So yeah, this is how I achieved the low polys. And then I went to do I forgot to mention. For the curves, I just for the wires I just use curves for this. You have to. It is pretty straightforward process. You just add the curves and you have to manually bend this. Very annoying process it is, to be honest. You have to bend this very cautiously, otherwise it looks very weird. So I had to put some time around here. But yeah, this is exactly how I did the low polys. I made sure that the silhouettes matched, and I started to triangulate everything once the low poly was done. And once everything was done, I have had to make sure the names matches with the high poly. This is very important part. Make sure the name matches with the high poly of your low poly. And as you can see, this is my high poly. And it has, this is the high poly, and as you can see, it has the name red front cover HP. And if you, by the way, if you're gonna bake your low poly in Substance Painter, you can put whatever you want here. But if you wanna bake in Marmoset, you have to make sure that you put high here. And I didn't have this here because this was a pretty old save, and I was planning to bake in Substance Painter, but it changed later on, so I had to put high later on here. So yeah, once you made sure that the names are okay, as you can see here, I had to manually go to every object I did, and I had to make sure that the low poly and high poly matched with everything. And by the way, the shortcut to do this is F2, F2, select your object, press F2, find the name of your high poly like this. This is the high poly. You go to the name, press F2, then you hide it, then you go to the low poly object, then you press F2 again, and then you press the high poly object's name. Then you just delete it and add this. So this is how I did it. It doesn't take as much time as many people think. So once that was done, I decided to post this in a Discord forum, and I started to ask them about how it looks, how it should look, and I took their criticism. And once that was done, I fixed some stuffs. Like, some people told me there was some problem around here. I do not have that save file to show you what problem I had around here, but there were some problems that I was able to fix through the feedbacks in Discord community. So make sure to keep posting about your things in your Discord community or in any social media community that you have, that you trust that they are gonna give you a good advice. So once I did that, I got some very good constructive criticism, and after taking them in, I told myself that maybe I should move on to the texturing process. And to prepare my model for texturing process, I had to start UV unwrapping. And like any general UV unwrapping process, I went around and started to cut the areas which has 90-degree angles, or in general areas where people's eye won't be able to see. So like here I put the seam very at the very bottom, because most people won't even be looking downward to see the model. So once I did that, I went to the UV editing area and did the UVs. But as you can see, it bends, and honestly this is something I learned recently, and that you should not keep your UVs bended because it creates a very weird texture. So to fix this, I went and downloaded an add-on. This add-on is free, probably it's free, and once you download this, you just have to select the island and just press to square grid or just to grid by shape, and as you can see, it fixes it. It's a very handy add-on. And by the way, if your UVs are bendy, it will waste your UV spaces. As you can see that you have these wasted edges here. But if I bend this, I can just do this, and it will waste less space. So once I went around and did the UVs, as you can see, after doing the UVs, I put a checker mark here. And why checker mark? And by the way, to easily put a checker mark, you can also get this tool. This add-on is also free. It's called text tool. It's probably in GitHub or something. I exactly cannot remember the link right now. And this will help you get a checker map. As you can see here, checker maps are a way to see how to do the how to check the texel densities, because in game asset you have to make sure that the texel densities are more or less around the same size, because otherwise some areas will look more high res and some areas will look more low resolution, and it will create a very conflicted art style in your prop. So yeah, and I think it took me around like 3 or 4 days or even more, to be honest. I was very lazy with this project. I had some procrastination issues, and thankfully I was able to get out of the procrastination stage, and I completed the what is it called? I completed the UV unraveling process in a 3 or 4 days, excluding the procrastination issues. So once the UV was done, it was ready to put into Marmos. It was ready to put into Marmos's toolbag. As you can see, this was the okay. This is not the file. Wait a second. Sorry, you gotta forgive me for this. I've forgotten exactly which file was this. This should be it. I'm very bad with naming conventions, so note to yourself that, not to myself, that I should be more cautious about naming conventions. Okay, so as you can see, once the UV was done, I decided to pack it, and this is a paid add-on, and this is called UV Packmaster, and I would suggest that you should get this paid add-on because it packs the UV very easily, and it is just a click of a button. As you can see, I do this and it just packs every areas very easily. So once the packing was done, once the UV was done, I had to make sure that every model shares the same texture, because I wanted it to have one texture set. So once it was done, I exported it. I made sure to select everything and then just export it. Since we are gonna bake in Marmoset, let me just open Marmoset toolbar to show you how I baked it. So once it was baked, I put it up in a marmoset toolbag and I just exported out the high poly. And after the high poly was done, I exported out the low poly. And then I put them in marmoset. Now many people will ask me, why marmoset and why not substance painter? They both bake, right? Well, there's a difference. In marmoset toolbag, you can you can edit the normals very easily, because in substance painter you cannot fix the skewing issues inside the painter. But however, marmoset has this thing called show offset UV and show skew, and you can actually fix this by painting. As you can see, paint the skews, and this is how it is very easy to bake in marmoset toolbar. And to bake this, I just went here. Let me show you how exactly bake it. You just go here and create a new baking project. Then you go here and quick loader, you will go to here and you just load your load your high poly and low poly. You have to make sure that the naming conventions are okay. Once it is done, it will just sort it out by themselves. It's gonna take a while because it's a bit high poly. I'm really sorry that I have to take this short breaks around here due to my low end PC, but yeah. So once it is done, as you can see, it puts every high poly and low poly in their respective fields. And once it's done, I just go here and I go to normals and I hit bake. As you can see, bake. It's gonna take a while, and once it's baked, you press the P. What the hell, didn't work. Oh, wait a second. No, I think it did work. Oh, by the way, I only baked ambient occlusion and normal map in marmoset toolbar, and I baked the rest of the stuff in substance painter, because an artist told me that it is better to just bake the normals and ambient occlusion here and the rest in substance painter. I exactly do not know why, but I decided to follow his advice. So yeah, once I did the baking, I went. Let me show you how it looks once baked. So yeah, this is how it looks once it is baked, and you have to fix some shading issues. And this kind of black shading issues are caused by either having having overlapping UV issues. And to fix these overlapping UV issues, you have to go here and make sure that the UVs which are overlapped are fixed. Okay, never mind. I have forgotten actually what I was gonna say about the UV issues. Anyways, so yeah, once the bake was done, I decided to export the bakes, and the bake was exported around here in the output settings, and then I just opened Substance Painter and I painted the textures in Substance Painter. The process was fairly straightforward, but I had to do some extra work in Substance Painter this time. Usually, I would just use smart materials and call it a day. But this time, I said to myself, "Nah, I'm gonna try something different." And for that reason, I decided to collect some good references on how a material looks, like how a metal looks and how a metal variations look. And to do that, I open Substance Painter and okay, let me open it. I should have thought of this earlier, to be honest. Okay, so I had to do those kind of thing. I decided to just make the base materials that I would need, and I realized what materials I would need very earlier on. As you can see, I needed a metal, a painted metal, a white metal, and it's the engine materials. I really do not know what material engine was made for, but yeah, more or less I needed around 3 or 4 materials. So I went to meat mat and I started to make the base metal. As you can see, this is where I did the base metal. Oh, by the way, this is a new thing I have learned in this project, that you should work in a uh, very studio lighting setup, because otherwise your texture may look very weird. And I have found out that this HDRI is very useful to work under. And another thing I should mention is that I think it was okay, that you should crank this up to ultra, otherwise as you can see, it looks very weird. I didn't know this prior to this project, so this was very handy thing I have learned. And as you can see, I made the base metal around here. And how did I made the base metal? I had to look into the material properties, like how it reacts to light, how it creates the roughness. And I went around and made the okay, wait a second. Okay, as you can see, this is my base material, and it looks I started with just a very basic map, which just has a grayish color and I would say very decent roughness. Then I started to add some color variations, and to do this I would go here and add some color variations via gradients. Apparently, in case you didn't know, metal has lots of color variation, and you have to make sure that you put those color variation in the metal, otherwise it will look very flat. So I just kept adding some color variation, add some roughness. Then I decided to add the scratches. As you can see, these scratches, and just continue to add this kind of details. And once I was sure that I liked the metal, I decided to make it a smart material. And once the smart material was done, I went to the different metal, and this is how I roughly did the other type of material. And this is the material that I used for my engine. It's a cast iron material. I named it cast, but it's not exactly a cast iron material. It's I just decided to try to simulate this kind of effect around here. But this kind of effect around here, but I don't think it looks exactly like that, but I tried. So once I was happy with the materials around here, I made them into a smart material, and this is the time that I started to do my actual texturing. And let me show you what my texture looks. It's gonna take a good while, to be honest. This Substance Painter's file is very heavy, so it might take a 1 minute or 30 seconds at best to load. Firstly, I decided to I will let it load, but in the meanwhile I will just let you guys know how I started to what part I started to texture first. And I started to texture this area first, because it was just a metal, as you can see here. And this metal took me a good while. I went through trials and errors, and as you can see, it's still loading. But as you can see, this is the metal that I was able to achieve after trials and errors. It took me around 4 tries, I think 4 tries to achieve this kind of metal. And the first iteration was very grungy. I was not working under a good reference. I just went off reference and started to add grunge everywhere and dirt everywhere, and it looked bad, to be honest. It didn't look as good as it looks now, so I decided to scrap it. I started to do another one, and it also looked good, but not that okay. So I put this up in the Discord community that I mentioned, that I told you before, and they told me to fix some stuff. So I fixed those stuffs, and After that, I was still not quite sure if it gonna look good or bad, so I did another try, and this is how it took me around 4 or 3 times to fix this. So once it was done fixing, I went to this area, and as you can see, this is this area. I'm really sorry that the stream, sorry, the substance painter is lagging. I have, anyways. So this area was very hard for me to do, cause honestly, I still don't know if it looks as good as the reference, but the thing I did here was this. Let me show you. I made a video in case this was gonna happen before. So as you can see here, I applied this method around here. Wait, I think actually just let me do something. But I approached the texture in a very formulaic way. Like I decided to make sure that it has layers, like layers on top of layers and on top of layers and on top of layers. I started. Okay, this is a lot easier to do. Finally, I will just explain how what I did here in these settings. And what should I do? Open sample, make it. Okay, so this is how I did my metal. I added a metal first, a very basic base metal, like something like this. And then on top of that, I decided to add another metal. Why another metal? Apparently, I realized that it creates this kind of very this it creates a very good look. I really don't know if it's the right word or wrong, but once you add another metal and you add some grunges, it just looks good, as you can see. Hey, what the hell? This should not happen. Okay. As you can see, it creates a roughness variation around here. So I use 2 different types of metal around here, and as you can see, it looks a lot better than just a normal metal. So I added 2 different type of metal, and wait a second. Okay. Then on top of that, I decided to add a red paint. As you can see, this is the red painting, and I added a red painting here, and I'll just try to show you how I did this red painting. It's a lot better to show me. It's a lot easier for me to show it here rather than in the main file, because the main file is very laggy. So I made another layer, called it paint, and I made sure that it does not take any kind of information from the bottom layer by pressing normal and then applying the normal to all channels, because otherwise it will take the information from the bottom layer, because most of the other channels are either linear add or something. So I put a normal normal mode and apply it to every other channel. So once I did that, I started to like add some marks around here. So yeah, this is how I did this. Then I went I went even higher by using the anchor point system. And what is the anchor point system? I think Jahid bhai mentioned in the last stream. Anchor point system is basically a system where you take a previous mask and reference it in your other layers. And to do this, I went around and and to show you how to do this, you first add a mask that you wanna use. Like, let's assume that I wanna use this mask, right? But I don't have this mask around here, so what should I do? I went here and this is the mask I want to use. So I go here and add an anchor point. It's gonna anchor this area, this mask. And now I go here, add a black mask. Let me just show you out here. Okay. And you add a fill layer and you can just select the mask, and as you can see, it's now referencing this mask. This mask was not here before. This mask was referenced from this contrasted base metal that I have added. So using this mask, I have this kind of information now, and now I can tweak it in any way. And this is an anchor point system is very useful to simulate rusting effect, and this is the effect that I had shown here. As you can see, this effect, where as you can see here that the metal is peeling off and you can get rust effects, and it's very dynamic and it's procedural. And let me show you how to simulate these marks around here now. So suppose this is the paint I wanna do. Now I wanna add a mask. Okay, here's the mask. Now I wanna peel it, like make sure that the mask is peeled. So to do that, I will just reference the bottom stack. Go here. Oh, okay, never mind, not that mask. Okay, this mask, yeah. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, we have a painted paint that's peeling off. But how do I, get this kind of effect that I have shown here? Like, this edge is falling apart, and to do that edge, I have to add a rust here. I think I should have a rust somewhere around here. This rust should go here. Then now I take the same anchor point that I have made here. As you can see, it's now referencing this anchor point in here, in this mask. And now this is a neat trick that I have learned. You can just use a filter, blur, and subtract it. And I'm not sure if you can see this in the stream, but as you can see, this is now peeling into the mask. It's a very, very micro detail, but I think it adds a lot to your model. And the mask now has rust in it, like it's rusting around the edges. This is a very neat trick to do. And as you can see, to do this, you have to add a mask on top of a mask, and then you have to add a blur, and then you have to add a fill layer, which is set to sub. This is the important part. You have to make sure this is set to sub, and once you do that, it will peel off to the edges. As you can see, this was the original mask. Then I added a blur, then I added a fill layer, and it started to peel off around the edges. And then I added another mask, called it a rust leak, and this one also uses the same principle. I went here, added a mask around here, then I added a filter. It was this uses high pass. Sorry, not this. Then I added another filter on top of it, which is blur slope. Then I added a position around here. Then I made sure the source uses that position, and as you can see, now I got a max which bleeds outside and creates this kind of gradient around the max, and this is how it's still not loaded. Come on, I think I gotta open a new file. Okay, so as I was saying, so this is how I created this very intricate peeling effect around here, and as I have mentioned, this is very dynamic. So once the effect was done, I went back to the original max, which was this, and then I added a paint layer. This is important, paint layer, and I can just paint my max, and it will have the same effect as you can see. So I went around and started to do the same stuff around here, and I will let it load again. I hopefully this won't crash this time. So this is how I did the very intricate painting details around here. This is the workflow that I have used in all of the materials that I have created in my generator, which I will show you once it's load. But I will just let you guys see how I did this in this video as well. Oh, not this video. I have better video around here. And as you can see, I had this kind of very intricate peeling effect around here using the same principle. Like, you know, this has a max around here. Then I added a reference point, and then I did this kind of setup around here, and then once I paint, I get the desired effect that I have created around here. Okay, it's loading now. I hope it won't crash. Hey, it loaded. So yeah, as you can see, I have used that principle around here, and this has a very base metal at the end. Then I added some paint on top of that. Then I added some rusty effect. Then I get this kind of effect. Okay, it's still taking time. But yeah, as you can see, I have used that principle around every areas, even including the stickers. Like, the stickers has edges which gets blurry around the areas which was torn. Like as you can see, this was the very basic base sticker. Then I added some anchor point on the sticker. Then I added these edges using this method around here. This method. So this is a very handy method to add more details into your picture, and I would say anchor point is a very useful way to reference different masks and use it on your upper mask. So yes, Sami bhai, this is how I did the texture. I am not really sure what should I say more of this texturing process, but once it loads, I will show you how I added some storytellings here. And hopefully this will load this time.
If it doesn't load this time, then we can go separate session, we can record the working details and I can add it on the YouTube channel, so people can watch that as well. So it's not a big of a problem.
Yeah, let's hope that it works.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, it loaded, I think. But still lagging, but I think it loaded. Okay, it loaded finally. Okay, as you can see now in higher detail, I have used the same principle around here, and so this was the base metal, this metal thing. This was the base metal. Then I added paint on top of it. This was paint that I added on top of it. This red paint. Then I added some edge highlighters here. I don't want to turn this off and on because it's gonna take a while again. And then I added rust using the anchor point that I had situated around here. This anchor point was referenced in the rust layer, then another rust layer, and I continue to do this till I get the desired look that you were seeing here. Then once I was done, I decided to go for the stickers. For the stickers, I made the stickers in Photoshop. Let me show you what I did here. I made the stickers in Photoshop, and then I put them. Oh, sorry, those were not stickers. Wait a second, I think. Okay, yeah, these were the stickers. I made them in Photoshop, and I exported them as, I think, texture. You know, like when you are exporting, make sure to use them as texture, and then I just drag them in a warp settings. This one's important because if you don't use the warp method, it's gonna get very weird, like this warping projection. And then I dragged it out and did the stickers. Yeah, this was more or less how I did the other steps in Substance Painter. Then once everything was done, I decided to add some storytellings. I wrote this thing around here as a story. Like, I assume that it is someone who don't like to ride in the tanker, but another guy is riding in the tanker, so I made some small banter around here. This is something I personally enjoyed adding, so I added this put 5 liter only here, don't ride here, can you not spill, and even a winky face to make it a more of a personalized asset for me. So once this was all done, I decided to put this in Blender again by exporting, and that's sorry, not in Blender but in Unreal Engine. Let me open Unreal Engine. Sami bhai, can you give me a 5-minute break? My
Yeah, sure.
yeah, thank you, be right back.
Yeah, sure. So while Rigdhi is away, let us talk about our next in line who is coming. He is Rajoan Redoy, and he will be coming with a steampunk design. Not now, but after Rigdhi has done his session. So as you have noticed that we have back-to-back sessions of artworks relating to metals and a certain aesthetics. Like in previous episode, Jahid covered a apocalyptic battle axe. In this session, we are doing a generator, which is in present time, but a used generator, which has been used a lot. And in next session, Redoy will come with a blimp, which is a which is the airship that was used around the 90s, and which was like, it was a very famous thing, but it has a certain artistic perspective to it because it was designed in a steampunk way. So in future we don't have any artwork relating to any of the punks like frostpunk or cyberpunk, but we will be looking forward to bring more artists that covers those punk as well. And those who have missed our last episode, along with Jahid's session with the apocalyptic battle axe, there was also there was also Riyadh with his geo notes. He told us about how he created a frosty spike from the ground, and also some frozen animation, and also some stuff conjuring from thin air, and all the particle, and how he did all the particle effects of that animation. It was quite interesting. And that's it for now. We are still deciding on what to do next, whether to end the first season after March 2, or do we continue with this stuff. It will all depend on the inspiration and motivation I am getting, and how much this conducting this session is hampering our community's time. If it takes a lot of time, we might decide to take a 2-3 months break, then come again later. Rigdhi, are you
I'm back.
back?
I'm back. Yeah, I'm back, and I'm ready.
Long banter. You go and
Thanks for the break. All right, so once I was done with texturing, I re-exported back in Blender, then I re-exported back in Substance Painter, and then I decided to do my scene building in Substance Painter. And before I do that, I would like to make sure which areas I used. I started in Basic. I'll just explain what I did in Basic from first. In Unreal Engine, it is why I use Unreal Engine to do some scene building. It has a real-time renderer, and real-time renderer skips the time to wait in cycles in Blender, and I don't wanna wait in Blender to animate some stuff. So this is why I prefer to use Unreal Engine 5. So yeah, what I used here was a very basic setup. I went to the empty level room, then I grabbed some assets from Quixels. As you can see, these are all Quixel assets. Then I placed them in a very compositional way. Then I added a cine camera actor, and I started to use a lumen. Lumen is very easy to. What the hell? Okay. The scene is very heavy. Okay, so lumen is very easy to use. You have to just add this the directional light and set it to, where is it? I think set it to movable. Otherwise, it won't use the lumen method. Then you can just press Control L and then just control the light very easily, and it creates a day and night cycle, as you can see here. Pressing Control and L and just moving the mouse. So I did that, and I started to light it, and this was my lighting reference for it. I wanted to add a sunlight around here which bounces back around the prop, and this is how I did the wait a second. Okay. So this is how I added the lighting. As you can see, it's trying to simulate what I have seen here. The lighting is hitting here, then it's bouncing back around this area, and it's giving me this very soft, uh, very soft sunlightish feel. And once I was done with it, I took another uh, I took another camera and did another angle, and this was, I think, this angle. Yeah, these two angles I did using the lumen method. Sorry, using lumen and what do I say? Using Unreal Engine. Then once I was done with these two scene, I decided to head back and finish the rest of the scene, which was, I think, which was to create a studio render. And I did this studio render by first figuring out how people render their props, and it was very easy to figure out. I just searched up how do they render their props, and I decided to build something like this kind of arena in my scene. As you can see, a paper behind their prop, a camera, sorry, behind their prop, camera in front, and some lightings. And I used the 3-point lighting setup. Sorry, I used 4-point lighting setup with one rim behind the back. You will see here soon. As you can see. Okay, as you can see, I built it like this, and I added a sheet behind here, this kind of sheet around here. Then I added a light on top. I followed this from here. As you can see, a car. I added a area light around here. Then I added some 2 rim lights around the back. Then I added a fill light. I think it's the area light because it has the most intensity. And I made sure to add the lights one by one, otherwise it will look very bad. So I first had the very neutral scene, and I made this neutral scene by adding a HDRI around here. As you can see, this is the HDRI. I added a very small strength around here. Then I add the lights. Firstly, I added the main key light, which was, I think, this. As you can see, this light leads here. Then I added another light, which was the top light, which softens the light in my opinion. Then I added another light, and then I just continued to add some light in the back. Why did I add a light in the back? It creates a rim around here. As you can see, this kind of rim effect. And once I was done with the scene, I hit render, and it's more or less done. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing, and for that I'm going back to the Unreal Engine scene again, and that is I used a rule of third composition around here. As you can see, I made sure to put the generator in the back, in the rule of. Let me just show you around here. Right. I made sure to put the generator somewhere in around here, so that the eye goes directly around here. It's a lot better to put your stuff in rule of third rather than in exactly in the center. It creates a very better composition. And also I made sure to hide this. I made sure to darken these areas so your light focuses only around here. I have, I think, one more light around here, which was this light. It's a very small pill light that adds some sort of brightness around here. So yeah, this is how I did the scene in Unreal, and this is how I did the scene in Blender. And I think more this is it. I honestly don't know what else to talk about. So Sci-Fi, I think you're good to go.
Yeah, thank you, Rigdhi, for this wonderful session.
By the way, I forgot to mention one more thing. The project is project is still work in progress, so I'm still trying to do the renders. I think I'll just show you some renders and color gradings that I have done here. It's still work in progress, so I don't really have much things to talk about, but it's some basic color gradings that I have done here, mostly to make the scene pop up even more. Without color grading, it won't look very good. So yeah, this was the last thing I had to say. Okay, you can go on. Thank you, Sai Bhai. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Rigdhi, for your session. And always, Rigdhi has taught us an important lesson to us that no matter how much passion project it is, we have to end it somewhere. So Rigdhi was working on this project for a very long time, but I am glad that he finally decided to wrap this up, to come to this session and present it to us. That is why he rushed it a lot, but I think there is still a bit of tinkering left. So do check out his things when he uploads in his portfolios. And as far as I can see, there are no questions regarding the session, as I think Rigdhi gave a very detailed perspective of all the things he has done, and we are thankful to it. The next on the line is Rajoan Redoy, and before Rajoan Redoy comes, I would like to request Rajoan Redoy to give a very broad introduction to himself, because I gave a very brief one. So before he comes, I would like to say that I requested him to present the Blimp, which was a steampunk project specially for this session, so it correlates with our theme of this week. He was very reluctant to present it at first, because it was a very old project of him, like 2 years before, but finally I was able to convince him to present it, and just to let him know that this Blimp project is a very good one, so don't you worry that it's an old project or not. And obviously I will bring you in another of the week sessions to present you with a very recent work of yours, but for now you have to go with the 2 years old project. So let us welcome Rajoan Redoy. Redoy, you can unmute and go live and share your screen.
Hello everyone. Thank you for the opportunity, for the invite. So I'm Redoy Rajoan. For a brief introduction, I've been doing 3D for after 2020. I did start it in late 2020, but it wasn't my main thing. Before that, I was studying computer science and engineering. I was really interested in programming, but I quit it for some reason. Then I did graphic design for a while. Then I see graphic design isn't doing it. That first of all, I started 3D. Then it wasn't for I wasn't sure I'm gonna do it as a profession, but I did it for fun. I did some various concept arts stuff like Daki 3D and some other tutorial. Then I think it wasn't doing. Then I start modeling. So I did focus on hard surface modeling. Then now now I'm here. Recently I got a job in a company called Vinex. I'm working for 6 months now. I'm making 3D models and texturing there. Also moving forward to be a level designer in their upcoming game. So let's maybe that's enough for the introduction. So let's talk about the project I did. Sorry to interrupt. Is the screen visible? Hello.
Yes, it's visible.
Thank you. Like, first of all, let's talk of this project. Like, I didn't knew that like, this kind of a thing. Me and my friend, another friend, like he was saying like we can make a sci-fi Bangladesh or something. Then we were like trying to what kind of sci-fi it can be. Like everyone making cyberpunk or other punks, like mostly cyberpunk. But then I implied like if we make a steampunk that would stand out. But then we start working on it. But for some reason we didn't continue doing the entire Bangladesh or something. Like I just ended up with a blimp, and he lost interest in this thing. So first of all, how did I made it? Like I'm not a designer at any means. I just look at some references. I collect some various references for the blimp. Like first of all, I collect many 3D reference from movies like Motor Shell and animes like Team Boy. I wasn't sure how steampunk works, like how this beam gonna work, how the engine gonna function, and I look into those movies and engine references and animes. Then I came up with some design, like so basically the beam gonna fly, or the airship gonna fly with this thing, this balloon. Then we have some engines for like generate the air for the balloon, and for internal like some lighting and stuff inside the blimp. And this is the main propeller engine that gonna give it a forward thrust or backward for this one. So there is two propellers in the front and two propellers in the back. So I did this thing, and these two there's four engine like this in this place. So I did that, and this there's four tires here for the support in the landing, and there are lighting the fog light or light here. There will be door here to get inside, and there's some ladder step. So I was like trying to like what if this is a gunship, but I didn't go to that way. I made it as a transport vehicle. I didn't make it as a gunship. So I end up with this thing. Let's go in the Blender file. Like this blimp is really old as a model, and this is my project. Like this was done in 2021. I was really bad at modeling that time, so the topology and management is really bad in this thing. I'm gonna show how I can do it better now if I did it now. So first of all, like as for design perspective, let's say these are some these containers gonna store the gas or steam and supply it for the balloons, and this is the propeller, and this whole it's gonna take his stuff forward, and this gonna take out backward as we need. And always modeling and doing like concept, you need a good human reference or for real life scale, so you can understand how the model is, how the scale is, and how people can access your model. So I used a human, especially because like I didn't had any dimension for this model, how the weight gonna be, how the length gonna be. So I eyeball it using this human as a reference. Then I eyeball it, we like how big or small parts gonna be compared to human. So that's I I think that's the design part. So let's talk about like how badly I did the model and how can I fix it. So the most weak part here is, we look here, that there is some texture issues also and some other issues going on here. If we focus on this part, like it has a really messy topology. For this edge loop is pushing on this one, so it's making a weird shape. That's maybe if you want, but it wasn't necessary. Like on that time, I really wanted to do this support loop like this, so that goes all around this model. That isn't necessary. That creates a really bad topology. So if I do a recent project, like if I do this part and I was doing like lookers like this for that goes all around the model, let's create these weird shapes, weird topology. Like if I look this model is also like 1 year old something, but has a relatively better topology than that one. Like this is the same part like this one, but it has more isolated topology. So whatever happens here stays here. It doesn't go to the rest of the part of the model. Even same thing for this part. It doesn't go to the rest of the model. And even here, like it might think like there is a quad, no quads here. It is bad, but I'm doing it subdivision. It can end up to quad anyway. Or also, as this is like curved surface, gonna do a shading issues. So I think it could have solved it, but might do some shading or sometime. Like if I do it like this, fixed, might do shading issues or not. So I could have done this part like this, and from this part, like if it going down that way, I could just do this to have a less impact on the other side, because this loop curve doesn't need to go all the way. So as like this, I can just vanish these things. So there is less topology, less polygons. If your loop cut goes all the way, it's really hassle to manage it. It has effect on other parts, but I was really new to modeling that time. I didn't know that you can also isolate your loop cut like that. So for example, basic subdivision model. Like you do this to have a straight edge, sharp edge. Otherwise, the model is really soft. But you can also do if it's a sharp edge, you can just bevel it. But it also does that thing, but you need an isolation there. Let's say I'm gonna add a circle here. But if I do an extraction, now if I do loop cut here to sharpen these edges, my loop's also going to the circle shape. It goes like this. It's ruining the circle shape. But I also need the loop cut to sharpen this edge. So how can I fix this thing? Also have a sharp edge on this side or also on the circle. That's why we can also do the boolean thing. Like I'm using forgotten tools. There is a selection set. Like if you select something, you can save it. I just need to add a loop cut here. So if I do it again, selects the edge I have previously selected. I'm selecting the sharp edges which I need to harden, which I need some support with. Right. Right now, if I now do it, so there is some issues here. Sorry. As I was saying, you can do basic bevels on these edges like this. You can do bevel like this and have a like arc. Then you can take this part and join this somewhere else or this place. Like I do it here. I did the bevel part with arc, then I do it here. So if I didn't do it like that, I had to do like the loop cuts that all goes all around the model, which creates problems. Like I say, like if my loop cuts comes over here or through this thing, it would ruin the circle shape. You can see. I was about to demonstrate, but my Blender crashed. I'm just showing like how else I could have improved on the process. So how I did it was like I mainly did box modeling for this thing. There wasn't any other modeling part necessary. Also maybe this part also has problem. Every part has problem. Like everything like loop cuts are always flowing like this, which is really not necessary. You couldn't have just merged this. Can do a circle. It retains the shape. You might have to position it again. But also their Lucas is always going all over the model, which isn't optimal. Always bad thing to do. So now how I did the texturing. Before the texturing, I need to like UV unwrap them. I marked seam here where the hard edges are and where the texture gonna separate. Break. Please get this going. Like for this balloon, like my laptop was really slow and really slow back then. I upgraded my PC recently, but for this blimp I could have done UDIM workflow. That way it will take more. It will give me more texture resistance. Like here, for the mirror and low resolution on the UV islands, it didn't give me a good result on this model, especially on this part. So like if I go here, it didn't have a very good UVs and didn't have good enough space on the UV island. So that's why it didn't have better resolution to catch. And for the mirror, it was giving this thing. I could also fix it on the render, post-process part of the render, and it didn't show this part, but you can easily fix it if you plan it out using some better way. But for this model, I tried to use UDIM. It wasn't necessary, I think, but I wanted to learn UDIM and have a really good texture on this one. Like UDIM is, let's show our first one. Like for this one, I used like basic model, like normal UV layout. Like this model will only have one UVs, and I had materials. Each material will give just like 6 or 7 material for this blimp model. It will have a different part, will have different material and different. Like these parts are the same material and they share the same UV. This way I have to do all this for all this model, but it didn't catch good details on the UV. So for the gun, I tried to do UD workflow, so you can see it also have better UV detail, so it can catch better detail from the UV map. So UDIM is basically you are not limited to just one UV island. You can have more like from Blender is like 10 by 10 UV islands. Also, CZ Cookie has a very good UDIM tutorial. You can catch it up. I used like 30 UDIM maps for this gun, which is totally overkill. I could have done it like 20 or 10 UDIM, but I was just testing it out. For also using UDIMs, you can, like, if I create a new PV element, you can set individual island their own resolution. Like this island can be like 2K, and another island can be like 100, like 1K. So you can optimize your stuff, yeah, your texture space. So if this part needs more density on the texture, so you can put it on the denser part, and if this part is less dense, you can put it here. So you can optimize your texture size and have a better result overall. So let's go on the substance mental part. Sorry for something else. Giving good presentation. Like as I said, like I did it on a old laptop, so I had to, like, this model is really heavy. I didn't did like as a game assist part. I did like for animation assist part. As animation assist part, you don't generally need to go high and low poly workflow. So it just high poly is also like is good enough. So that's why I just did the UV on the UV on this part, not applying the subdivision. Then subdivision modifier like this is UV tab. Then I export it like this. Basically exporting, applying the modifier and the transformation from this part. So it applies the modifier after I export. Then while I import this, I exported, like, didn't export the entire part together. I exported like if the same material part separately, like this. These guys share this format, and they are here. Like I did this though because my laptop was really slow. I'm saying it again and again. Like I did this to, like, if my substance painter can handle this with that laptop I had. So it was much faster to work with this thing. So let's talk about firstly the big thing, balloon. So back then I wasn't like really good at texturing. I mostly used the main smart material and edit those things. Like I use the fabric material here, and like this fabric material, then I edit the color to white and added some damages and stuff. Basic dirt. Texture is really basic and self-explanatory. So, like this movement pattern did the brick mostly, giving this it look like fabric. It has a ratio fiber thing, like this gray scale texture as a height map, then this gives it a look as a clock. It could have been a better one. And also, like here, like this, there is a huge separation from this mesh. It could have been much more tighter and more believable. Same goes to the metal part. Like for the copper, I use basic copper from Substance Painter and add some dirt and some stuff over it. Would have been better. Let's go for another part. Is giving maybe a bit better result here, but you can see it doing low resolution. You see, zoom in a little bit. These scratches and this material on this part is really low compared to the other parts. They look relatively more high res than this thing. Also, the tile looks much better, relatively better than this body, because the reason is like it not having good space on the UVs, so it couldn't catch up all the details. If it had a bigger UV space, it could catch up. That's why UDIM workflow could have been better for this thing. Or if I did UV, really good UV on the first place, could have been better. I'm saying same word again and again, sorry. Like for the glass, I use basic reflective surface as a base, then add a dirt layer over it using this mask from the curvature. You can bake mesh map. You can bake you bake high poly details. Like you don't need a high poly and low poly stuff to bake. You all know that. If you have a high poly material, you don't need normal map. You can bake other stuff like ambient occlusion, curvatures, thickness and stuff, and especially the ID map. Like I use mesh ID map and use shift as a thing. So other material are really the same. Basic smart material are a little bit adjusted. So like for example, like if I you would have used UDIM on this thing, it would like better. So another project which used UDIM. I even turn off some material for this thing so it loads faster. So this model has UDIM done and quite much better UV layout than the previous one. so it has consistency on the detail part. Sorry, I'm sounding weird. If you look here, I did better texture on this one because it's like a year after that thing. The detail is quite consistent along the entire model. There are better imperfection on the surface. So if you look this part and this part, there is no resolution gap. Like this part is high or that part is low. So if I had to do it without the UDIM, I had to create a really 7, 8, or even more, 10 to 15 materials if that thing didn't fit on my U layout. Or you can squish it on 2 or 3 material you put UVs. So for that thing, it's showing very good result relatively the blimp. Or the less texture. How can we texture better than metal material than the blimp? Like this is the barrel part. The gold tip. Basic gold material. I didn't give it detail yet. Quite Redoy. I believe this is the barrel part.
Hey Redoy, you there?
Hello. Sorry.
Yeah, I was a bit scared because I thought.
Yeah, like it's loading. I have to hold it. Sorry.
You can share some of your render ideas with us while it loads. Like what type of render ideas you have in mind for the blimp final output?
Oh. Maybe this is the wrong part. But is my stream not visible?
No, it's stuck on the like shotgun part.
Oh, let me restart the stream now.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Sorry again.
Yeah, it's visible now.
So let's pause that part as it loads. So for render, I did white light, black lighting. I didn't do the lighting. I used add-on like from Blender Guru. It's quite old add-on. Nobody even uses it these days because my lighting isn't that good. I used his add-on, like Pro Lighting Studio.
You are not showing something in the screen, right?
What?
Because the screen is stuck again.
Substance Painter is giving the thing.
Yeah.
Let me share it again. Is it clear now?
Yes, yes. I think like opening Substance Painter or Blender is taking a toll on your PC, so
Yeah.
you can switch one off. Then I think it will be smooth.
Substance now. Right, for the lighting, I used, as I was saying, like Blender's Guru's Pro Lighting Studio, which is a really old add-on, quite outdated now. But you can have a good, decent result if you tweak it. I did 3-point lighting, then I tweaked this lighting that thing gave me. Come on. Like it gives the empty that the light follows, and some other light here. This may be the key one. This is the back. These are the fields. So this also gives you some opportunity for the background. This is a really quick way to set up your background and the lighting. Like it gives you a background, also a flow. You don't have to input textures and stuff. Does it for you. So that's what the lighting for. And I found out like if you put it like 21 aspect ratio of the render, I mean. These aspect ratios produce a little bit of cinematic look thing on a video, like that's why I did that. So from this part I did this ratio instead of 16:9 to have a better cinematic look. I created a few other cameras from another angle. This is more closer, so I can see people can see what's going on. This is for the close-up. These cameras are from the back side. I had to change the lighting according to that. If you have this empty, you can rotate your lighting or also adjust manually. Also this weird character figure can imply how big this thing compared to human. I also did it here on this engine part. So after render, These were my raw renders. There wasn't really good. I just did a basic prop render, didn't sing, so basic center composition were applied. Maybe there was rule of third involved here. And this one I did for the outdoor scene, so it was a PNG render, no background. Elsewhere render. So then I take this raw render to Photoshop. Wrong part. Then I put it here. So this is the raw render. But it's quite boring and not selling the steampunk effect I'm trying to say. Like then I use some brush, smoke brush. Put the cloud on the smooth brush to hide this part. Right. This part was really white, grabbing attention, so like I lowered the brightness down. Add some smoke, so with the smoke brush. More. Being a bigger smoke, big smokes. Then all this color correction was done by the collection. So after I did this, press Ctrl Shift E, that Ctrl J. Sorry, there's that loading every effect here. Like after I duplicate them and immerse them, then I give them a, then I create a matte layer from them. Then I apply that Nick collection filter. There are really classic filters on this. I'm not really good at like doing color correction and stuff, so I use this filter and use the tweak the stuff from select one of this filter and did some basic adjustment here, like this zooming and stuff, and some lens variant and some film grain to give it some natural feel, camera like feel, and add another filter over it. this was the result. Then I used this smart filter over all of the model after adding smokes and all of the other renders. Then I just used that filter all over the model because they were smart layer. They could have a smart filter, so I didn't have to do the filter all over again. And all the model was looking, all the render was looking consistent. That was the problem. And for this part, I also did on Photoshop. I had smoke brush, and this smoke on those clouds were another image. I had other clouds over this thing. Also for this smoke. For this, like for this spinning effect, the motion effect on this engine were done on also done in Photoshop, like spin, blur, so quick sample. Also, you can see the motion effect on the engine propeller. Is my screen visible or?
Yeah, it's visible.
You go to filter, blur, motion blur, or radio. I use the spin for that part. Just by selecting this part, then I add a radial blur or other type of blur on it, so it gives a look. They give a look like this is all in motion. And also the same filter goes on this on dust and grains, so to sell the steampunk look. Also, this smokes were also done in Photoshop. Basic smoke brush over the top. Same goes to this thing. Same effect here. So I guess this was all the thing I can say about this thing. Is there any other question?
I guess there are no questions. As you explained, all the things are in very large details. And thank you, Redoy and Redoy, for being here for the session. It was very brave of you to come up with a very old work with all the faults in it, and you have explained and showed us that how you have improved in the last few years and how you have come up with a better solution for all the flaws you have in this artwork. That was very educational. And also kudos to both of our speaker artists for coming up with a suggestion to get this session in English. But from next episode we will resume with whatever preference the artist on that session have. And last but not the least, for our next show we have Mr. H. Al Huzaifa on our show, and Mr. Alif Ahmed. Both of them are going to come with interesting artworks. The artworks will be presented soon before the session. And also for those who have missed a certain portion or all of it in this session, it will be provided on our YouTube channel. So you guys go and like and subscribe that channel to keep us motivated for more such contents each week. Thank you again both the artists Rigdhi and Redoy for attending today's session, and good luck and bye. Signing off.